Exploring methods that are specific music frequency, tones, and vibration, sound healing, and sound healing transformation are nearly as old as humanity itself. The ancient use of music rhythms and sound patterns were and have been powerful methods that absorb us through our listening, especially when we shut our eyes and take in the experience. When we connect with these specific sound frequencies, there is entrainment that is actually a mirroring of the external sound pattern, which elicits the relaxation response where there's a lowering of our metabolism and circulation, our pulse rate, our heart rate, and our blood pressure. These result in deep relaxation, an entrancing effect, reflection, enhanced inner focus, which are also the characteristics of changes in consciousness, brainwave patterns, and awareness, a significant holistic approach that offers us well-being. You might never hear about this from the pharmaceutical industry. That's because these methods are empowering for our physical body, emotions, mind, and thoughts, and our inner spiritual connection, and even our immune system. The particular sounds, frequencies, rhythms, and tones lift and carry the listener into a resonant state where there is receptivity, which is often characterized by heightening of different sensory information that may include or go beyond the five senses. Sight to insight, changes in perception, which can influence our memory and perception of memory, and opening of our hearts into compassion and receptivity. And while these are occurring, the repetition of the particular sounds sustain our connection and hold us in this transformed state easily. And it continues to carry us until the sound patterns cease. You don't have to try to do it. It's like Yoda said, there is no try, there is only doing, as in listening and the experience occurs, because all you have to do is listen. This deep, relaxed state is where the person is in control. They don't lose control. They're deeply relaxed, becoming sensitive to these subtle shifts in the different systems within that are restorative to our immune system, our biochemical system, which is the production of positive chemicals and diminishing of negative chemicals, our mental and emotional responses, and impact our physical body. Often these repetitive sound rhythms are found in nature and in ancient group gatherings where the shift from ordinary consciousness united all the listeners in a cohesive state, calmly and in restoration. The restorative nature of listening to these particular sound patterns occurs through the rhythms that conduct a resonance that is pleasing and consistent without changes throughout the entirety of the listening experience. The consistent repetition changes our brainwaves, heart rate, and respiration, which are physical responses, adapting to the patterns with very beneficial adjustments and powerful, effective shifts. Scientific research shows that when we connect into the relaxation response, we are restoring our neurological system, which is often functioning from different traumatic experiences that we have experienced, and sometimes generational or familial, and that keep our system in a stress cycle of producing cortisol, the stress hormone, which leads to chronic stress and chronic inflammation. Chronic stress and inflammation are the foundations of mental and physical disease. Choose a mental or physical disease that you can think of that comes to mind: addiction, alcoholism, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression, bipolar, PTSD, and physical diseases that have chronic stress and inflammation as underlying Foundational conditions are heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, and immune compromised illnesses. And often understanding what an immune compromised illness is helps us to clarify that it's a network of tissues and organs that are normally identify and destroy invasions to our system from bacteria, viruses, and parasites that cause illness and infection. However, when there is a weakening of our immune system, the foundation for different mental and physical illnesses occurs. And this is because the continued inflammation is erosive to the neurological system, the chronic stress, and the nervous system changes. And in the result, it causes abnormalities that include depression. And you may be familiar with some autoimmune diseases or disorders, which include psoriasis, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, fibromyalgia, celiac disease, multiple sclerosis, lupus, Guillain-Barré syndrome, stiff person syndrome, and others. So being able to change how our nervous system responds instead of degenerating and having an abnormal response, so being stuck in that pattern of abnormality, we can reshape how our neurons respond through the transformative power of specific sound and music listening and systems of listening that include developing neuroplasticity, which means enhancing also our attention, learning, and memory, alleviating stress and the stress response, chronic stress and inflammation and depression and anxiety, and reduction in pain and more. Listening to particular sound and music effectively for change is a system that progresses, which means the more you listen, the more it builds in your system positively. Consider if you do something once or twice, how effective it is. It isn't. And consider when there is a system to follow that lays out the steps, how different, how effective, and how the benefits are truly gleaned so that you can continue to use it and continue to grow and expand the benefits. It's the application, the system, and the consistent practice that is transformative, as in any valuable thing or endeavor that we can do. In ancient Greek mythology, the original three muses were Aide, Neme, and Melete. And Melete means practice or repetition that creates long-lasting benefits within our body, our mind, emotions, and spirit. Aide means song, melody, vibration, tone, and rhythm. And Neme means memory and intuitive memory that builds with practice through sound patterns, vibrational patterns, because intuitive memory is a neuroplasticity component, or making connections that are intuitive, not taught to us. Using these elements are ancient methods known throughout sacred practices worldwide and now supported by science. So curated sound and music systems are not standalone methods. They infuse into life with other essential activities that are also just as vital for our evolution and progress, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The following 5 areas are essential foundations for our transformation and work in a dovetail way with listening to specific sound and music. And the first one is getting good sleep, and enough sleep is an area that contributes to our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual being. This is one of the 2 areas of the essential 5 that overlaps with curated sound and music, because we can use the sound and music listening system to access deeper sleep, easily falling to sleep and staying asleep through practicing and feeling the subtle shifts that connect us over into the relaxation response. We need a certain amount of sleep for our physical body to heal and all the organs inside our body. On a psycho-spiritual level, our physical body needs to restore so we can process the day's occurrences and also deeper level areas that may be long-standing for years or decades or a lifetime. Beyond this, our psycho-spiritual self travels, and sometimes we remember things that are not acceptable in the current paradigm. From visiting and seeing people who have passed or who are going to pass, dream walking and lucid dreaming. It's also true we cannot eradicate how influential what food and liquids we consume and how these impact our body, our mind, and emotions. Often depletions and deficiencies are root causes of disruptions in our mental and emotional conditions, often not identified in Western medicine, and can be predetermined for physical conditions. Everyone seems to have different vague notions of what healthy nutritional intake is. However, nutritional intake is also influenced by the substances we consume, some of which also cause their own unique depletion, which is another area to consider when looking into holistic methods to change the paradigm for ourselves, increase our ability for up-leveling and healing in our body, mind, emotions, and spirit. And another really important area is getting into nature, which is through movement, because it serves us in multiple ways. Getting exercise lifts our mood, lubricates our joints, benefits our cardiovascular system, and connects to the environment, earth, creatures, and sky. Getting outside in the day and night and witnessing the night sky and stars also gives us a sense of connection through time. Often the most significant way we connect with our inner spiritual feeling is through being in nature, seeing, feeling, and experiencing, smelling in nature, seeing water glisten, feeling the moisture, the movement of the wind, the water, the ocean, and trees, the light and shadow, the odors that emit that are transformative, like forest bathing. And as social beings, our connection with others virtually and in person is essential. The pandemic heightened the loss of our social in-person experiences. In-person exchanges in energy information and biochemical neurological shifts are vital for us. Social interactions in person do not require us to share our political views or other areas of conflict to have value. An additional method to expand social exchanges is sharing the same curated sound and music with others at the same time. This experience enhances listening through the shared experience that synchronizes heart rate, respiration, and brain waves with all the listeners. The requirement is an agreement about the duration, the lack of disruption to the process, and honoring of the experience. Connecting to rewiring ourselves, our neurological system, releasing trauma, improving our immune system, and mental and emotional regulation. We also deepen our inner spiritual connection and ability to solve problems. A question I've thought about is, if enough people improve their systems functioning, including biochemically, physically, mentally, and emotionally, holistically, while improving their resilience and inner spiritual connection, where will we go from there? What greater capabilities can we accomplish? What parts of our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual capabilities will develop? Will our once called junk DNA, now recognized as non-coding DNA, be where new genes evolve? That would be literal, a physical evolution. What is our potential? We can physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually go up and expand exponentially